What's up everybody, TJ Grant here with Quad Poly, and today we're going to make this in Fusion. So today I'm going to be bringing you a brand new template, and just like the template that I released previously on the planets, you're going to be able to use this for commercial and personal use. You'll find the download link in the description below, and once you've downloaded the file and open up the zip, you'll be able to see that there are three files. The bolt comp, which is going to be the main template that we're going to be going through in this tutorial. You're going to find a Phoenix comp, which was the Phoenix that you saw in the very beginning, and that's just a sample file. And then this bolt nodes underscore text, this is the text file that you're going to use in order to get it running inside of Resolve 15. So to get things started, this template works in both Fusion 9 and Resolve 15. Now in order to get it going inside of Resolve 15, we have to do a couple of things first. So once you load up a new project inside of Resolve 15, go ahead and right click, go to New Fusion Composition, change your frame rate to whatever you want, click Create, and then the new clip, just go ahead and drag that into the timeline, and then let's go over to the Fusion tab. Once you're in the Fusion tab, the files that you downloaded from the project directory, there is a text file, and these are all the code for the node structure. So all you have to do is select all of it and copy it, and then in your flow graph in Resolve 15, go ahead and paste that in there, and that's going to bring in all the nodes. So for the remainder of this tutorial, I'm going to be using Fusion 9, and the only reason why I'm going to be using that is because the machine that I'm on, the refresh and viewport speed is much faster in Fusion 9 than it is in Resolve 15. But with that being said, if you want to use Resolve 15, everything that I do in Fusion 9, you can follow along exactly inside of Resolve 15. So with that being said, let's check out and see what this template is made of. So when you first load in this template, you're going to see just a basic structure here. On the left hand side are going to be all the places you're going to create your strokes, or you're going to create text, or you're going to create a circle preset. I've kind of started some node structures for you to get going right away. And then up at the top here are going to be some example effects that you can use to stylize. In the middle section here are going to be all of your glow settings, your core of your glow, your texture, and of course the ambience or the halo effect. And then over here you have a color correction node, so you can color correct any of the look and feel of the overall bolt or stylization that you want. And then there's an erode and dilate node so that you can soften the effect or increase it. And then that all gets piped into an image plane. And then down below is a particle setting. Now these particles are driven by your graphics here, so whatever art you make or text you make, you can pipe that into there, and that's where your particles are going to emit from. There is a couple of little stylization here, like how the particles are going to look when they emit, and then this gets piped into the merge 3D node, and then finally there's a render 3D node to bring everything down into the 2D world. And then at the very end, all I did is add a little TV effect in case you want to have some scan lines or grunge or noise or whatever the case may be. So now that we've gone over this template, let's go ahead and start where it all begins, with creating your graphics. So there's three categories: your paint strokes, a circle preset, and a text node. So up in the paint strokes, let's go ahead and put that into viewport 1. I did that simply by pressing the 1 key, or you can drag the node into the viewport as well. But the paint node is pretty straightforward. You can choose a paint brush and you can paint your stroke out. And then let's go ahead and connect this into our template here. And you can go ahead and see that it in fact creates the effect right on top of there. Okay. So with the paint tool, you can paint it, I just undid all that. You can paint that in, or if you want to, you can use a multi-line tool, which will allow you just to kind of create a little spline. And then if you want to be able to animate that path with the polyline tool, this only works with the polyline tool, you can come down here in the options under stroke controls, and you can do a right on from the start or from the end, and you can animate that path along as well. So the next node down is the circle preset. Now this is in here because coming from the After Effects world, I sometimes need a circle to be able to animate the trim paths on, but inside of Fusion they have no shape tools like a rectangle or a circle other than, you know, something that gets filled. Okay, so this is a way to kind of give you that stroke, and this is a pretty simple node setup, and it does have a lot of really good qualities to it. So I'm going to go ahead and connect it into here just so that we can see what we're working with. And so all it is, it's a paint tool as well with a rectangle that I drew across the top here. And then in the coordinate system node, all I did is change it to a polar to rectangular, and that's just going to wrap it around in a perfect circle. Now what you can do though is if I come over to the paint node and just select that rectangle, all I can do is move this up in the y-axis, and that's going to increase the diameter. You can also decrease the diameter. All right. And then if you want to animate the stroke coming on or off, you can just grab the x-axis tool here and move that left and right however you want. All right. And then in the options over here, you have the center or the width and the height. And so if you go from the width, what you can do is just break it apart in the middle and animate it that way if you want. And the height is actually going to increase and decrease the stroke width. And then the last area here is just a text node, and that's pretty straightforward. You can come over here, connect it up, and what you can do is just change your text. You can change it to whatever it is that you want to say by typing it in here. Right now I have it on the outline setting, which you can find under shading, and just here are your shading tools for the text itself. So if you want it all filled in, you can do it that way. Outline is going to give you a little bit of the best result there. One thing to note about the outline that's pretty cool is that you can come down to line style and just change that to dots, and that's going to give you kind of a neat little LED type effect on there as well. So there's some pretty neat options in here. If you've never played with the text tool, there's some pretty neat stuff that you can use. So let's move on to this center portion of the template. So on the left hand side here you have the core, and this is just going to be your core glow, and it's pretty simple soft glow. Just go up, you can adjust the threshold here, you can adjust the gain, reduce it, increase it. You can also increase the glow size if you want, but this is intended to give some extra contrast and extra light to your initial stroke graphics. The center node here, which is your glow texture, this is where the meat and the bones really starts to come into play, because what this is, it's another soft glow with an increased glow size, but what we're using are these fast noise masks as a mask in order to give that glow some texture. All right, so let's hop in here real quick, and these are just a couple of examples, but this arc example here, you'll notice that it's a fast noise node, which simply looks like this. And the main reason why I'm using this is because it's basically a procedural type of noise. So I can adjust the detail, I can decrease the detail, all right, increase the contrast, all right. But what's the most important about the fast noise is that it has a seethe rate, and that allows me to add animation to the overall effect so that we get that nice ambient kind of animation to add smoke or electricity or fire or whatever you want to put in there. So you'll notice that this arc has several different fast noise shaders here. And then in this one is actually a merge node, so I merged them both together. And this is going to give me that kind of output. And the same for down here, although for this one, I did a standard fast noise and adjust the parameters over here. And then I added a vector distortion, which distorts it on, whatever x-axis or y-axis scale that you want. And then I brought that into a merge node as well to give me this type of graphic. So that's going to start to help me get those arcs and the extra electric kind of view. All right. And then what I did in here is that I added another node, which is the arc displacement node. And what that does is it's going to displace all of this information coming from this node here. Now this node down here though is just another glow node. Alright, so basically this is just here to increase the glow size and increase the amount of glow. But I put the output into this into the input of the displacement node, and then this black and white image coming from these two nodes here are going to displace this graphic. Okay. And then also, since this node down here also accepts an effect mask, what I did is I took the soft smoke example from up here, which basically looks like this, and then I just adjust the curves on that, and then when I brought it down all the way to the end here, it just kind of gives a little bit of ambience inside of there, the little bit of a smoke look to everything. Alright, and then that tied into the displacement, and then that went right back out to the merge node. Okay, so if you want to keep your glow core down here, this graphic right here, what I've done as well is I've took the output to this little knuckle here, and then I merged it back into the scene so I can actually just see the word itself. And you'll notice that with this displacement that it's not only displacing the actual letters themselves, but now you're going to get the straight text coming back from that. But you can also look and see from this now, this soft smoke and how it's all being applied together from the soft smoke up here to the arc graphics, and it's all propagating down into this final merge node here. So with that all being said, you can come up here and you can adjust these fast noise nodes. You can play around with the parameters and come up with new and unique different looks simply by just adjusting the values over here. So if you don't want too much detail, you can check it out and see what that all looks like in the end as well. So that's going to give it much more of a wobbly appearance here. We can increase it, make it look a little bit more like arcs as well. So there's a lot that you can do to really change up the overall look on how you want to make this all feel. Alright, so the next section here, after all this gets merged down, it gets merged into a black and white image, and then I've created a color correction node here. And all this does is it allows you to colorize your black and white image. So you can change it to whatever color that you want. Just play around, add some unique looks to everything. Alright. And then the next node is just an erode and dilate node. And I like to use it, in case I want to reduce the overall amount of the effect, or, you can even sort of pixelize it a little bit there. You can also increase it. So it's a fun little node to use in case you want to add some more style. And then all of that gets pumped into an image plane. And this is important because the next section, which is the particle system, is going to utilize this in the 3D scene. So you'll notice that I connected the node, this text node, to the P emitter down here. All right. Now, if I go into this render here, you'll notice that I have some particles coming out. And these particles are based upon this little graphic here. All I did is took the background node and then a paint node and just painted some stuff with some tools here. You can actually paint and add, you know, more shape to it if you want, and it will update across there. And then for this case, I created a glow on there, and then that's the bitmap that the particle is then going to emit. All right, and all I've done in here is to ensure that the angle is being projected in the z-axis over here at 90 degrees, so it's coming out towards the camera. All right, now you can of course change that angle, you know, if you wanted to have it emit a little more up or down, change up the axis a little bit. So in this case I just moved it going up, but it's whatever angle you want to do, but by default I went ahead and just had it out going away from the object in the z-axis here. The next point, we then take this P-render node and I'm going to merge it into the Merge 3D node. Now I left this unhooked because maybe you don't want any of those particle effects in there, but this is just an option, and all you have to do is enable it, is to ensure that your graphic from here gets plugged into the P emitter, and then this gets plugged into your Merge 3D. Now since I changed the color on this bolt here, I'm going to show you how I changed the color on this emitter node. If I go over to Style tab, I can change the color. So this is the color over life, and you can just pick a color here and pick the next color, which is kind of that green, and then maybe we'll add a little hue shift there, and then we'll fade it out to black. And then that's going to update inside this scene here. All right, so now we've come to the Merge 3D. So looking inside this scene here, I've also set up a camera so that you can move the camera in and out. And this green rectangle is the focus plane. So if I come over to the Render 3D section here, and let's go ahead and just render it out, you'll notice that I have added some accumulation effects so that you can turn off and on the depth of field. So if you don't want it on there, you don't have to. If you like it on there, you can, you know, keep that switched on. And then you can also adjust the amount of depth of field that's on there. And then the last node is this TV node, and basically that just adds some grain. You know, if I wanted to add some scan lines, you can do that. You can skew it, you know, basically kind of give it that old kind of TV look. So you can see some of the bars that you can place in there. Maybe tone them down a little bit. So now that I've gone over this entire template, let's go ahead and just make a quick example here. And I'm going to use the circle preset, give it that initial glow. And then while I like the core glow here, I don't want it to be even throughout. So what I'm going to do is this little volumetric rays kind of effect here, this example, which looks like this. I'm going to take the output and drag it into that mask as well. All right, and that's going to start to give me that little extra kind of broken up so it's not 100%. And I'm going to come over here real quick, and I'm going to select the rectangle, and I'm just going to adjust the height. Maybe bring it down just a little bit. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this soft smoke noise, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this soft smoke and I'm going to drag that into this glow texture here, and then I'm also going to grab it and plug it into this glow ambience mask here. And then I'm going to come to this glow here and I'm going to increase it. And then for this glow texture, I'm also going to increase it just a little bit. And then what I'm going to do is, now that we have this set up, I'm going to plug this into the particle emitter. And then I'm going to come over to the P render node and I'm going to preview it over here. But I want to match the color of the particle emission to these colors here. So under the P emitter node, the color over life, I'm just going to pick, you know, as close of a color as I can. You know, before I do all that, let me go to the color corrector here, and I'm going to take away some of that green look, kind of make it more of a red. Now let's go back to the P emitter node, and for the color over life, I'm going to pick a color here, and let's change this to that color scale, match it up, and then we'll have it fade to black again. And then finally we will tack it on to the merge node there. So in the merge 3D node, you can see it right here. You can see our image and the particles coming out. And then let's go into the render 3D section here. And now you can see that with the depth of field on, you can see our particles are emitting towards the camera. And again, that focusing plane is right there. And of course it quickly drops off the focus. But if I were to render this out, so you can see after it finishes rendering out, we now have this really cool looking fiery ring effect. So that about wraps up our tutorial for today. I want to thank you so much for watching it. If you would like to see more, please like and subscribe to my channel, and I will see you guys on the next tutorial.